Let's bring Myron out right now. Let's give it up for Myron Gaines.
So, man. So the tour, I think it's called Toxic Masculinity, right? If I'm not mistaken, Toxic Masculinity. So, you know, and I'm glad that you brought that up with me and Andrew Tate, because, you know, we had a discussion on this, how toxic masculinity isn't real. It's a fake term. And it's a fake term that they use to demonize the very men that have created the society that women get to benefit from and get to enjoy, right? Because last time I checked, it takes toxic men to go to war. It takes toxically masculine men to build things. It takes toxically masculine men to create families, to get up every single day and go to work and create a society so that women can thrive from it. But as soon as things are nice and civilized and they forget who built this world, what do they say? Oh, this guy's toxically masculine because he adheres to certain characteristics that built this world up, right? And I remember I was having this conversation that the reality is, when it comes to toxic masculinity, it's men that do what they're supposed to do regardless of what they're told, what other people tell them, what other people think, and quite frankly can't be controlled, and that's what they don't like. Because if you guys notice, this whole like toxic masculinity thing became huge when it came to the pandemic, right? AKA the scandemic, right? It started breaking out right around then. Oh, these guys are toxic masculine, this guy's toxic masculine, But the reality is, what it came down to was, guys just didn't want to be inside their house all day. Guys didn't want to sit there and not be able to go to work. Guys didn't want to sit there and be stuck in their home and wearing masks and comply. So this whole concept of toxic masculinity kind of came out and blew up during the COVID era, right? And the other thing also I want to talk about when it comes to like toxic masculinity is it's the ability to critically think. If you guys remember earlier, the dumb historian, right? The cuckstorian, that guy that came up and asked me those questions before about World War II or whatever, right? He came in and he gave the same regurgitated history that they've been telling us forever, that a certain amount happened about the Cookie Monster event and that a certain guy with a mustache is evil and all this other bullshit. And when you actually do your own research and you figure things out, you figure out, damn, well, okay, well, he did this. Why didn't they ever talk about, you know, why or what happened or after World War I, how he was able to recover from World War I and, you know, create a thriving country? Why did not talk about that stuff? Why didn't they talk about, you know, a certain aspect that no one wants to talk about? And what it comes down to is they don't want you to know that stuff. And quite frankly, if you go ahead and you push against their narrative, they get pissed off and they try to ban you, and some places put you in jail for asking these questions. And again, this comes back to toxic masculinity, an ability to be a free thinker, the ability to challenge the narrative, question the narrative, and then go ahead and do your own research, do your own investigation, and come out to a conclusion. And that's why these discussions are so important, right? And this is the United States of fucking America, man. Like, at the end of the day, the First Amendment, right? The First Amendment is a thing because dudes in England basically said, damn, this sucks. This king is like pissing us off. We can't say what we want. We're getting taxes, getting annoying. What do? They get in wooden ships, sail across the Atlantic Ocean, where the high seas were terrible. They didn't have any vitamin C, so everyone was dying off of scurvy. They literally faced all types of peril to come here across. And as soon as they get here and they write up a document to start a new country, what's the first thing they think about? We better be able to say what we want to say. We're going to come all this fucking way, right? So we got to go ahead and honor our forefathers and be able to exercise that right. And to be able to exercise that right, you have to push the boundaries. That means we got to question World War II. We got to question the Mustache Man. We got to question the Cookie Monster event. We're on YouTube, right? So, but I think you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And we got to be able to have these discussions. And this is when they call you toxically masculine, when you're able to question the narrative. And if you are able to question the narrative, guess what? You can figure out other things, and you can figure out, well, you guys didn't tell us about this. You guys didn't tell us about this. What else are you hiding? They've shown to us that they could lie about COVID. They've shown to us they could lie about 9/11. They showed to us that they could lie about JFK, RFK, October 7th, right? Like with the dumb fucking guy earlier, didn't even know what the Hannibal Directive was, tried to tell me, oh, 1,200 were killed by Hamas. When in reality, we know the most that they could have killed was 600 when we actually do the numbers. And all these numbers come from Israeli sources. I did a 5-hour long podcast on October 7th where I debunked all this shit. So again, toxic masculinity is the ability, right? One of the components of toxic masculinity is the ability to question their narrative and do your own investigation and figure that out. And they don't want you to be that way, because when you figure out that they lied to you, well, what are you going to do? You might rebel. You might go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and be a politician. Instead, our politicians are bought and fucking sold for, bought and sold, as you guys have seen with like Ted Cruz and these other fucking cucks in Washington, D.C., who take a bunch of AIPAC money and then say stupid shit like, we got to defend Israel. When in reality, the Israel that they're talking about in the Bible, the Schofield Bible, aka dispensationalism, is not the same Bible that is, it's not the same Israel that's in the actual Bible, right? So all this propaganda is out there. You know, the whole narratives with the women, of course, like that, which I love the name women propaganda because it's so true. A lot of the propaganda works for the women because women don't actually question things. They tend to be very, let me follow what everyone else says. Let me go off of this. And they're the biggest believers of the lies. And this is why when you look at advertisers, I've always said, when you lie, women buy. Why? Because women are easier to sell to. They're 80% of the consumer base. This is why advertisers target them. Like you take like the Gillette commercial, the famous Gillette commercial, right? How is it that a men's razor, they're talking about toxic masculinity, shitting on the very target audience that they're trying to sell to? Could you imagine if Victoria's Secret like came out with like a clothing line or something like that and said, okay, just stop being stupid, be better. Stop cheating on your husbands, stop cheating on your boyfriends. You need to stop being toxic. They would never do that. Why? They would never do that because, well, number one, women can't handle the truth. And then number two, they understand that they are targeting women and insulting women is not a good way to sell to them, right? So they thought, you know what? Since women, we want to advertise to women, let's go ahead and take a men's product and shit on men on their product. Backfired on them, thankfully. Guys voted with their wallets and didn't go ahead and purchase Gillette anymore, and they lost a whole bunch of money. You look at the Cracker Barrel thing that I talked about before, where they took the guy off and made it like more clean branding. I guarantee if it was a woman, they wouldn't have taken it off. They would have kept it. But who? You look at the CEO, dumb fucking female, stupid brim glasses. Oh yeah, I think it's going to be way cleaner, blah, blah, blah. Stock went down 50%. So this is kind of what it is, man. It's when you lie, women buy, and when you lie, they comply. So that is what toxic masculinity is. And they don't want you guys to be toxically masculine because that means you can stand up for yourself. That means you can ask questions. That means you're not going to listen to the norm. You're going to challenge certain narratives. And when you're able to do that, guess what? You become harder to control. You become harder to control. They can't be in control, and you challenge that control, and then that's the problem for them. So they want to keep you stupid, fat, subservient, doped up with dopamine from pornography and sports, right? Which is another reason why I tell you guys don't watch sports. Sports is a big fucking waste of time. You're sitting here like a fucking loser cracking open a fucking beer, watching some athletes achieve their dreams while you're sitting there still fat as fuck, still working a job that you hate, still working literally. Most Americans can barely live their lifestyle. They're in debt. They're in debt. They hate their job, and they're basically barely getting by, right? Like they're living paycheck to paycheck, and that's what they want. They want you to be in that position because guess what? When you need a paycheck and you depend on a paycheck, guess what? You become a slave. You don't say certain things, you don't do certain things, you don't challenge certain narratives. You need them, and then you cannot challenge them, right? So this whole concept of toxic masculinity, it's all a bunch of fucking bullshit designed to keep you subservient. But I'll tell you this, whenever there's a catastrophe or some other shit going on, they need that toxically masculine guy that's going to come in and tell women, hey, you're fucking stupid, shut up, we got a fucking world to save. Anytime there's a fire, that toxic masculinity shit goes out the way because the guys that are naturally masculine, what do? They rise to the occasion. They run to the fucking burning house to go get the kid, or the firefighters show up and go save the people. Because the women were saying earlier, oh, well, women could do what men can do. And what I say, hey, if you call 911, more than likely you're probably in the worst event of your life, right? I'll tell you how this, man. I'll be mad as fuck if I call 911 and two fucking black chicks named Shaniqua and Laquina show up and say, oh, you okay? I can help you. I'm dead, bro. I'm fucking dead. These don't fucking work out. They eat fried chicken all the time. They're going to be more concerned with their laces not falling off while they're trying to pick me up and shit. Fuck that, bro. Right? Like every single one of y'all in here would be mad as hell if two fucking women showed up during the worst time of your life, bro. Yeah, hell yeah. So, but they want you to sit there and be like, no, that's accepted because of equality. And that's the problem. When reality hits, equality goes out the fucking window, right? When you're at it, like how many times you guys, I don't know if you guys watch, there's this YouTube channel. It's called like Police Activity, right? And it's a very interesting channel because you get to see like the mayhem when it comes to real life. And anytime there's like a female cop or a female is involved in a shooting or there's some type of hands-on activity, the woman becomes fucking useless. And not only does she become useless, she becomes a liability, dude. A liability because now the guy, the male cop that's there has to worry about her not getting beat up or making sure that she doesn't get hurt or that the suspect doesn't get access to her gun and shoot both of them. Happens all the fucking time, dude. For them, the use of force ladder is way shorter because they can't sit there and go toe to toe with a guy. Or if someone punches them, I'll give you guys a warning right now. Never punch a female cop. You're gonna get shot, dude. You're gonna get shot because since their use of force ladder goes up so much faster, they can't like quickly transition over to a taser or to mace or whatever. And they're gonna look at you as a bigger, stronger man. They're gonna shoot you, and they're probably gonna walk too because they can articulate, hey, this guy's a real danger for my life. So the point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of the times they weaken everything else. So when I used to write my operations plans, I would always have women on the outside. Better for them, better for the guys going in, and better for the suspect, to be honest with you, when they went in. So they can go ahead and actually get arrested. We can interview the guy and work up the ladder of the drug organization or whatever. But yeah, so the basic thing I want to say here is if someone tells you that you're toxically masculine, good. If someone tells you that you're stubborn, good. If someone tells you, man, you're not very agreeable, good. If someone tells you you're a conspiracy theorist, good. Because at this point, being a conspiracy theorist, all that really means is you're just ahead of the curve a year or two beforehand, right? When we told you about COVID, I was saying all the time, yeah, the jab is a fucking scam, it's a lie, the scamdemic, whatever. What do you find out? Bunch of bullshit. Biden had to fucking pardon Fauci and a bunch of other people before he left office because he knew it was that bad, right? So it was all a bunch of BS, and quite frankly, it was an overreaction to a very minor problem. I remember if you talked about this thing, like on YouTube, you could get banned, but now it's like not a thing anymore. The election, saying that the election was rigged was like considered like bannable stuff, like it was a big deal. Now, it's kind of accepted now. You could talk about it because there's quite a bit of evidence out there to show that maybe the 2020 election was stolen. I think the most important thing that a guy can do is be competent, be intelligent, read, don't be a moron, go to the gym, take care of yourself, make as much money as you can so you're not dependent on the system, and then always question things. Always question things, man. So that's really what I want to say when it comes to toxic masculinity, because I think we need more guys to be that way. And I think it's a good thing, as much as they try to demonize it and say, oh, toxic masculinity is so bad. I think toxic masculinity is literally how we have the world and we have all the inventions and we have everything we have is because of toxically masculine men. So,
how are you doing today?
What's up, man?
I just want to say I agree with a lot of the stuff you say. Not here to attack you. I feel like we have a lot of common ground, specifically about like how you believe in conservative values. Like you talk about the importance of the nuclear family in society and how that's the backbone of everything. That's how children are raised. And you talk about the importance of also female chastity and how both those things are very important foundations of society, correct?
Yep.
So on the other hand, you also preach that it's okay for men to sleep around, but you also somehow support these conservative values and the importance of a nuclear family. I don't see men sleeping around and a strong, fundamentally sound society coexisting, because in every real life example we have where men are freely sleeping around, that directly raises rates of fatherlessness, that destroys society at its core, at its roots. Children grow up without foundations and are born in poverty and almost inevitably return to poverty because of their lack of a father figure. So my question for you is, how exactly do you explain the coexistence of the importance of a nuclear family, but also on the other hand, men sleeping around is somehow empowering?
No, that's a good question. That's a very good question. So before I answer this, just like, and I'm not asking you this to like insult you. I kind of want to gauge my answer based off what you tell me, so I can be the most. How many women have you slept with?
None.
Okay, you're a virgin.
Christian.
Okay, that's fine, no problem, and I respect that greatly. But the reason why I want to bring that out is because I think it's important that men understand. Like, ideally, it is she's a virgin, you're a virgin, you guys meet, you get married. You have children together, you have a family. That's the ideal situation. I wish every single guy could be a virgin and meet their dream woman. But unfortunately, with the way that the sexual marketplace is now and how women are, the average woman is getting far more sexual access than the average man. By the time a guy ends up even being able to catch up to a girl and go on a date or whatever it may be, she's gonna lap him when it comes to experience of dealing with the opposite gender. Now, the reason why this is a problem is because we live in a society now where women don't respect male authority. And not only do they not respect male authority, they're more sexually experienced to give the facade that they respect male authority when they really don't. And they can go ahead and get what they need. And my thing is, with the way marriage is set up in the West, men have everything to lose. So you work your ass off, you make a bunch of money, you create a name for yourself, etc. You go ahead and you're a virgin, you get with your wife. she's maybe sexually experienced, she doesn't like the relationship as much because maybe you're not like a former Chad that she had, or maybe you don't have enough money like the last NBA player she might have dated. She's gonna have these experiences in her head and be able to draw, compare you to other men, while you're not gonna necessarily be able to compare her to other women. And what's up happening is, since women are more likely to, number one, get bored in relationships, number two, initiate breakups and initiate divorces, where you have all the skin in the game, I just don't want guys being in a position where their ineptitude with female nature from being a virgin or whatever, following God, results in them destroying their life. So if you can find a girl that's a virgin and you're a virgin too, that's ideal, man. That's awesome. But I have to operate on tell guys what the real is with women nowadays. Being a virgin, operating like it's 1955 when it's really 2025, is no longer a feasible way to find a good mate, be able to identify that mate, and then put her through her paces and be able to be in a long-term relationship, because she's gonna know way more than you do, and you're not gonna, most importantly, you're not gonna be a competent leader to her, because she's gonna understand the game and you're not. And unfortunately, when you're a virgin as a guy, or if you're not sexually experienced, what's up happening is, you get with the girl, you get laid for the first time, you don't want to leave her, you don't see red flags from her behavior, and then she uses the sex to keep you in. A lot of women do this, where they make you comply to get sexual access, right? Oh, if you don't take out the trash, you're not gonna get laid. If you don't mow the lawn, you're not gonna do that. You're already losing, and there's so many guys that are in that position. So when I tell guys, look, I want you to make 6 figures per year, be 35 years old, have a good job, be in shape, have sex with 50 girls. I'm not saying I want you to openly be a degenerate. If you can get by with being a virgin and find that chick, great. But I just know the way women are and the way a lot of guys are, it's just not feasible in 2025.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
No worries,
that.
man. No worries. And that's a valid criticism. I understand where you're coming from with that. But the reason why I dispense that advice is because we're in 2025, and I'm just giving advice to guys to deal with the modern women, unfortunately. And the modern woman, dude, is a